like that. And then while the glue's curing out, also I like to get my wheels on the axles. The first step in that is this hub's a little bit wide, and I just put a razor blade flush here with the rim and just cut that hub off flush with the rim. You do that only on one side, and that's the inboard side, or the side that the wheels face one another. You cut that off. You do all the wheels, all the axles are the same, so that cut side goes towards the center. So I use a pair of duckbill pliers, or you want something kind of thin for sure to get these C-clips on. The groove's not really pronounced, but it seems like it works best if you can get it most of the way on by just pushing on it, and then finish it by squeezing it on the rest of the way. Just make sure you get them fully engaged, but grab them, push them on as far as you can get it, and then squeeze it to get it the rest of the way in. So again, on these C-clips, if you can grab them with a set of duckbills. Get them snapped on a little over halfway, and then make sure they're fully seated. Don't forget the Loctite. I just made this little dish here. It's very convenient, and the Loctite will stay in that dish for several days. It's much more convenient if you have it easily available. You'll have a less tendency to skip it. I put 2 set screws in per landing gear. Some of the kits have extra set screws, some don't. 2 set screws per landing gear. Now I glued this setup together the other day, so it's all dried, and the key here is to get all this extra material nice and flush here, maybe a little bit of a round corner here. Take a razor blade or X-Acto knife and do that. I'm just gonna take it over to the belt sander and knock that off. So there you end up with a nice flush surface for the plastic to sit on when you screw that plastic on with wood screws. I'll screw one side on. Of course, you have to clean up both sides. I'll screw one side off. I'm going to do a little trial fit. Then on some of these, it seems like the holes in the plastic piece are a little bit close together. It keeps the right and the left gear too close together, and they kind of don't fit on the fuselage very well. They're just a little bit narrow, so they kind of squeeze the fuselage too hard. So what I'll do here is if that's the case, we need to widen the whole stance. Which is nothing more than kind of ovaling out these holes and kind of just bringing them about 1 millimeter more outboard. Knowing that, I'm going to pull these to the edge of the hole here before I tighten them up. Okay, I've got to clean off this side before I screw it on. Yeah, I just stuck this on the fuselage, and it looked like these holes are just a tad too narrow. So I'm just going to widen these out. Just oval them out just a little bit with this X-Acto knife. Doesn't take much, maybe a half a millimeter on each side. Okay, the main gear, you put them on so they just barely miss the motor too. At least it's hard to see, but it'll lose a little bit of extra axle sticking through. Maybe a 1/4 inch of extra axle. You could cut that off if you wanted to. Let's see. These go I think perfectly vertical. I can't remember now. Usually need to be adjusted after you get it in the ship anyway and get the gear down. You can get them aligned straight. Gear just misses the motors. Vertical. They may go, I can't remember. They go normal like that. I may be wrong, I can't remember. Okay. So, these, I supply these with the kits. They don't come with China. It's a plastic rod and plastic nuts. I put 3 of them on it, one end, and I leave about a 1/2 inch worth of threaded rod sticking out and then jam them together. Okay, and I think now we're ready to install in the ship. I've got the nose gear, the main gear, the plastic nuts and plastic bolts, 4 of these plates, the 2 nose gear side plates, and wire harness. And everything else, I've got a few extra pieces here, but not too many. I have this washer pack that you could use to try to help distribute the load under all these screws. But next I'll install it on the ship. Okay, I want to put a couple marks 63 from the back. That's that very back edge. So I like to use that caliper to do that. It gives me a nice square mark straight up and down. That marks the forward edge of this aft alignment block. Then at 303, 310, the instructions say, is the back edge. Of the main gear block. Usually this one almost self-aligns, because you can kind of just get that to feel right up there, and then this to feel right. You don't want this sticking out proud at all. And you look at that, that's right on that 310 mark. You take a marker with this one, you get that right so, and you take a marker and you want to scribe that cutout. If you do that, you cut that out now, of course it'll be a lot easier than trying to do it after the blocks are installed. So I'll go do that on a jigsaw or a vibrating saw. I'll probably use my jigsaw for this. Okay, I got the front cut out. I cut it out on the outside of the line. This is all doubled up, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Got the back marked at 63 millimeters, and I've darkened it up here with a Sharpie. So the gear, I like to put this gear on next. The gear goes angling back. Of course, it doesn't have to be perfect. I get it, you know, on that line, I get it pulled up tight. Kind of check the other side. Really, it kind of self-squares itself. I kind of use the gear to get it right more than the line. Just make sure it's at the right. And then I'll go ahead and drill with this 1/4-inch drill. Through the part. And this, I think, makes it easier because it allows you to, you know, use this part, this wooden part, to align the doubler blocks or the backup blocks. Now, when you're putting this fuselage in the scale body for real, the whole idea is that this gear sits down in the bottom of the fuselage, and then you slide this scale body in between it. Then you go ahead and put in these 2 screws that we've made up, these plastic bolts. Now, if you're right-handed, it'll be easier to do that from the right-hand side. If you're left-handed, it'll probably be easier to do from the left-hand side. So that kind of tells you which direction you want these bolts to come in from.